Hey everybody, I'm Marky Enriquez, the Digital and Interactive Media Manager here at CAAM. Welcome to CAAMFest FORWARD. I'm so happy to be here with you all today. You just watched Culture Clash, a shorts program here at CAAMFest FORWARD. And I'm so happy to have all the filmmakers here of these shorts in attendance for the Q&A. So today we have director JJ Querubin, Lindsay Roegner of Representation. We also have director Jess de la Merced of Phony. We have director Lilan Bowden, Joyce Liu-Countryman, and Ed Lee of Becoming Eddie. And we also have director Akira Boch and Tad Nakamura of the Atomic Cafe, the Noisiest Corner in J-Town. So welcome everyone. How's it going? Hope everybody's doing well today. First, let's start with JJ Querubin. How's it going, JJ?
Hello. I'm doing great.
All right. We have Lindsay here too.
Hey,
how's it going? So, JJ, first up, congratulations on the film Representation.
Thank you.
You know, it was a powerful and intimate film, you know, and it touched on a lot of issues the Asian American community, you know, still faces today, and like stereotypes and whatnot. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about how this project came about?
Yeah, sure. So originally I wrote the poem for a class assignment when I was in college, and it was something I was really passionate about. So like I performed it in class, but I immediately forgot all the words, and it was just sort of like a bad memory that I knew that nothing could come of it. But it wasn't until like months later where I looked back at the poem and I thought it really had a good message, and I knew I wanted to present it through a different medium, and I wanted to do an animation. So I kind of brought this idea up to Lindsay. I had a very like small concept, but Lindsay was really the one who helped me push forward with this project. And I would say like the visuals really do bring out the core emotions of what I wrote.
Absolutely. And how do you and Lindsay know each other?
Oh, we went to the same college. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you know, the music and the illustrations, you know, definitely played a big part in the film. Can you, maybe Lindsay can touch on this, like how did you, can you tell us a little bit about the process of like making this film in terms of the animation and, you know, and matching it up with the poetry?
Yeah, sure. So JJ gave me her poem, the written down version, and from there I created storyboards. And then we went back and forth a lot. So there was a lot of phone calls and emails. And it was all just like normal pen to paper. And then from there, I just started working on Photoshop, because you can animate in Photoshop now. So it's all frame by frame animation.
Yeah.
And then I would send JJ some different clips of each thing if we need to make adjustments, or she would ask me really good questions. Like there's a lucky coin in there. Like, do you know what that means? And I was like, yes, I researched it. So like, it was really important for me to like make all the visuals like accurate and really represent Asian American culture. But yeah, near the end, you know, finished it up. And then I put it in After Effects and then sent it off to JJ, and they did all the cool sound stuff, which I don't know how to do.
Yeah, so, that's amazing. Yeah. So before we get into the sound, so well done, Lindsay. The illustrations look great. So were you both working kind of remote, or you weren't in the same room?
Yeah, I was a senior in college at the time, and Lindsay was like working in New York. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, it looked like you were both in the same room. Well, speaking of the music, I know JJ, you're also the music editor. Can you kind of tell us about the music in this film?
Oh, right. So the music is by Justin Marshall, all Old Souls, I believe. And for the music, I knew I wanted something really simplistic. I didn't want the music to overbear the poem, because this film is strictly just about the words and the message that I wrote. So I knew I wanted something like piano, simple chords playing. And that was just something I found through a music library. And luckily, like it fit with my film. So I'm really glad how it turned out.
Absolutely. And, kind of back to what we first started with, like the themes of the poem, like it's very timely, the stereotypes that you're talking about, from stereotypes of Asian women to model minority to just I feel like those are topics that we still face today. Is there are these topics that that you like to kind of talk about, or that you have been that inspire you to make these type of projects?
Yeah, definitely. At a young age, like I already knew there weren't a lot of Asian representation in the media, whether it was like TV shows or in movies. And it's just something that I was really passionate about, and it grew more when I went to college. And I wrote this poem like in a journal. It's just like a lot of things I would vent out. And yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Well, again, congrats on the film. What's next for this film? And then maybe you can tell us, plug any upcoming projects that we should be looking out for.
It's currently still circuiting through other film festivals, so hopefully that it gets more exposure. And you could follow the film. You could follow me through my Instagram at Jehovah Jireh. That's where I post more about the film. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you, JJ. Thank you, Lindsay, for joining us today.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right on.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Now let's talk with Jessica or Jess de la Merced from Phony. I think she's here with us.
Hi.
All right. Hi, Jess.
Hi,
and welcome
how's it
to
going?
CAAMFest. Good.
Thank
good.
you.
So,
Good.
Congrats on the film. That was quite
you.
a trip to the grocery store. Yeah, I love.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I love how you took that mundane trip and turned it into kind of an adventure. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to make this film?
Well, for me, I really wanted to explore the relationship that I have with my mom, who I love dearly and deeply, but sometimes have a hard time communicating that to her. So I just really wanted to explore like how Asian Americans, are kind of taught not to talk about their feelings, and so they suppress them. And I wanted to see like what would happen if those feelings came out in a really spectacular and funny way. So that was like the original idea. But I really just wanted to make something for my mom, pretty much.
It was great. I mean, being Filipino myself, I definitely could relate to a lot of the interaction with mom and just kind of some of the, when she's on the phone with her friend and, they're talking about, how successful, their friend's daughter is. So, let's talk about the cast. You played Sunny, of course, and you did a great job. But Princess Punsalan, who played your mom, I've actually seen her recently in Yellow Rose, which is coming out, and she's amazing. I noticed, right? Yeah, that's coming out like I think soon, like today or something. So, shout out to Princess Punsalan, and then Christina Wong, hilarious. She's a comedian, but like there were a lot of great characters in this film. Like, how did that cast come together?
We had a really great casting director, but obviously I knew of Princess and Christina just from the work that they've done, and I really wanted to work with them. Kyle Mizono, she plays the ramen girl, and she's a treasure, man. Like I'm gonna use her in every single movie that I have from now on. And Elena Wang, she plays the little girl, and she's gonna be a superstar too. So I was really lucky that I was able to like use all these amazing Asian American women. It was just really a treat to work with them.
Yeah, no, it was great, and everything, all the whole cast kind of worked very well with each other, and just every scene, I'm just kind of thinking about every time you're coming down a different aisle, it's just like what's going to happen next. So
yeah.
So you're not only the director, but you're also an actor. So you've acted in several of your films. Like, so do you have a preference, like acting, directing? What do you like? Do you like doing both?
I like doing both. I mean, I don't have to be in every movie that I make, and I won't be in every movie that I make, but it just so happens like the last few shorts, I really wanted to tell Filipino American stories. So I wrote characters that I knew really well and knew I could play well. But I don't know. I definitely like both equally, if that's an easy answer.
Yes. And can you tell me about the title, Phony? So I know you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. about, you know, suppressing feelings and things like that. But at first, I didn't get it at first, you know, so it wasn't like, it didn't hit me on the head right away. So
Yeah.
can you tell me how that title came about?
There's several layers to it. So like, I think for Sunny's character, she feels like she has imposter syndrome. She like thinks she's not there yet. Like she's doing what she wants to do, but like because she hasn't reached a certain level of success, like she thinks like she's not, or she's a phony. And also I was exploring like how this character like is pretty judgmental of other people, and I think she thinks everyone is a phony, but she doesn't realize she's the biggest phony as well. There's a lot of Holden Caulfield from Catcher in the Rye references that really shaped her character for me. So originally it came from that, but yeah, I think it plays on a lot of levels in this short.
Nice. Well, you know, thank you so much for sharing this film with us here at CAAMFest. Would you like to, you know, plug any of your upcoming projects, any upcoming projects we should look out for, or what's next for this film?
So this film was actually part of a Paul Feig program. So Paul Feig executive produced this, and he did that for 5 other shorts. And the goal is to turn the short into a TV series. So we're working on the pilot right now and like going out with it. But I'm really excited about that. So hopefully that all works out, because I think there's a lot more to be explored with not just Filipino Americans, but Asian Americans in California and the San Gabriel Valley. So yeah, hopefully that all comes to fruition and you can check that out. It's still called Phony. Very
cool. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see Phony as a TV show for sure. So thank you so much, Jess, dela Merced. Yes, thank you. All right, next up, let's talk to Lilan Bowden, director of Becoming Eddie. And we also have a few of the filmmakers also involved. Joyce Liu-Countryman, the producer, and Ed Lee, the writer and producer of Becoming Eddie. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, thank you for having us.
No problem. Thank you so much for being here. So, Lilan, you're an actor. A lot of folks know you as your role as Bex from the series Andy Mack, but this is the first film you've directed, right? Oh, I think, are you muted?
Whoops, sorry. Hi. Yes, that's correct. Becoming Eddie is my directorial debut.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Well,
that's a joy.
Very cool. Yeah. So can you tell us what it was like being in front of the camera, or being behind the camera, as opposed to being in front of it?
You know, I gotta say, I appreciated the amount of like creative control that I get to have. I've spent my entire life acting, and as an actor too, as part of like breaking to the businesses, a lot of actors create their own stuff anyway. So I've been doing like shorts. I directed my own sketches, and with my writing partner Wilder Smith. I've worked freelance for funnyordie.com, but this was totally different because our resources were more. Joyce did an amazing job of producing this, and Ed had such like a awesome script, and the support of like lots of different people who donated to this film. So to be able to work on this scale and have these resources at hand was really like attractive, and so I'm now directing a lot more through Becoming Eddie.
Very cool. Well, it was a great film. Watching this film definitely had me flashbacks of my own childhood. I think I had Eddie's same haircut back in the 80s. So, you know, great job. That was a fun throwback.
Ed, and so did I.
I think we all had it at one point.
Yeah, I was looking at the kid. I was like, I've had that helmet bowl haircut. So, okay. So, you know, we have the whole team here. How did this project come about?
Well, this all started with, I wrote this script. I'm a professor at Emerson College, and I received a grant to make a film. And I just, I asked myself when I was writing the script, what did I wish for when I was a kid? And what I really wished for was that I could be Eddie Murphy, and like, not just to like be like Eddie Murphy. I wanted to be Eddie Murphy. And I asked myself a lot about just what that meant. What did I mean? What did that mean when I had trouble fitting in with my white classmates, and they were almost all white in the 80s? And what did it mean that, I wanted to be a comedian? I wanted to be loud and brash, but like I wasn't any of those things really. But I think it developed into something that was kind of special, because it was something that we've all sort of felt, like being an outsider, wanting to be someone else, wanting to also sort of blend in, even though we weren't going to blend in, and sort of running away from who we were. I think that's a big part of growing up Asian American for a lot of people. And ultimately, I think in the film, and like for myself, it was about self-acceptance. It was about just like learning that like you're good enough who you are. So, and I think that resonated with, so when I brought it to Joyce to come on as a producer, I think that she immediately had stories from her own childhood that were similar. And then, bringing Lilan on as a director, there were also, Lilan is coming at it from a half Asian perspective. And, but it's like so interesting that we feel so many of the same things and have so many of the same experiences.
Absolutely. I mean, just watching it, I was up in my fields too, when Eddie was, kind of battling, his identity. So it was great. So the young cast is just so great in this film. And, can you talk about how you discovered some of these talented young actors? I mean, how did the cast come together? Is it, I just really enjoyed those performances from Eddie and his friend.
Joyce, you want to take this?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had an amazing casting director. His name is Brian Sunaleif. And he was just really tapped into the young Hollywood scene and emerging talent in this area, especially Asian American and diverse talent. So it was actually it was surprisingly easy. In fact, he was amazing in terms of really pushing us and giving us guidance and consultation around the right talent. So I remember with Josiah, who actually is in Paper Tigers, by the way. So same actor, you'll see him twice if people follow through the festival. But he, like, literally, Brian's like, I know I couldn't get him in for auditions, but at callbacks, you need to see this kid. I think he's it. And we're like, well, okay, we kind of already had a candidate, right? We had a matchup. We had kind of the older set and the younger set. Josiah came in, blew us away. We're like, that's it. He's it. He's got heart. He's got comedy. He's got charisma. He's super smart, super kind, right? Really easy to work with. We found an actress that he had great chemistry with, right? Who plays Sumi, and was Amanda. And it was so easy in that way. Hard because we had to pick we have older, younger. But then once Josiah came in, we're like, easy, done. He's it. And then the adult cast are all people that we know that we're able to bring. And so it's lucky, it's a small community. And so we're able to actually reach out to our friends that we thought would be great for the roles.
That's awesome. So well done on casting this film. And so Lilan, back to you. I'm just wondering, after this is your first directorial debut, I'm sure you have the bug now. What's next for you in terms of directing and even for this film? Because I feel like there's something here, especially with this group of actors. Whether is there a sequel? Is it a TV show pilot? What do you have in mind?
That's a great question. For me personally, I've gone on to do more content, specifically working with kids. I've directed a lot of commercials for the toy company VTech. I'm beginning to direct my first YouTube series that also is a kids show about dinosaurs, which is really fun. And then for Becoming Eddie, like you said, we are developing it with Sony right now into a TV series.
Very, very cool. Well, the future is definitely bright with, the talent that you have discovered here, and excited to see what comes about. So, folks, if you have Ed or Joyce or Lilan, if you have any upcoming projects that you'd like to plug before we go.
You can catch updates on Becoming Eddie at Becoming Eddie Film. And for me personally, representation is very important to me. I'm part of an online live improv comedy show called Asian AF. And it's free to everybody. So follow at Asian AF Show, and you can see extremely talented Asian comedians doing comedy on the internet.
Awesome.
And then for me, I have a slate of projects. All I do is work with BIPOC, LGBTQIA, and women behind and in front of the camera. My next project is actually AFI Directing Workshop for Women project with Michelle Krusik. I'm producing that one. I got a number of features on the docket. And then as a team, the three of us will be working on Becoming Eddie, the television show as well.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me is we're developing the show. We're just like trying to make it the best that we can. We really want to get it on the air, so it would be amazing if that happens.
Cool. For sure. Well, thank you to the team of Becoming Eddie for joining us here at CAAMFest Forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks
so much.
Marky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. Now let's talk to the directors, Akira Boch and Tad Nakamura of Atomic Cafe, the noisiest corner in J-Town. Tad? Oh, there we go. What's up? What's up, Tad?
What's up, Marky?
How are you? And Akira, how's it going? Welcome, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. So what a great story about that little piece of J-Town history in LA. So honestly, I mean, I'm from the Bay, so this is my first time hearing about that story. How familiar were you with Atomic Cafe, and like what inspired y'all to make this film?
I think within at least the Japanese American community down here in LA, the Atomic Cafe and specifically Atomic Nancy are pretty well known. I think because it was only kind of one generation before me, so my parents. But also, I think Atomic Nancy was also a lead singer for Hiroshima, the music band. So I think, at least me personally, I just kind of heard about kind of the legend of Atomic Nancy mainly through my parents. And it was actually Little Tokyo Service Center is the one that actually initiated this project specifically. Because at that time, so Little Tokyo is located in downtown Los Angeles, and like most big cities, LA's been hit with gentrification really heavy. And so the building that that Atomic Cafe was in was going to be demolished, and I guess symbolically a metro station is going to be built there. And so in terms of really kind of retaining the story from a community perspective, because I think at that time, a lot of other newspapers were writing articles about the Atomic Cafe, but we're almost writing out the Japanese American aspect of it, really kind of focusing on more of the punk scene and kind of the big names. But that's kind of initially why we wanted to kind of create this story from the family itself, from a Little Tokyo Japanese American perspective.
Very cool. Yeah, it was great seeing a lot of the old photos, hearing stories from the patrons and the ex-employees. And now, Tad, I know you've done a lot of documentaries in your career. There's a lot of research that goes into it. Can you tell us like kind of the process of like how that was for this particular film? Like, and also just like meeting Atomic Nancy. She seemed like such a personable person, like open and down to tell her story.
Yeah, so I think this film took 7 years to make. We started this film before I even started Mele Murals, my last film. Akira, I think Akira's made like 2 or 3 films in between this one. But I'll let Akira talk more about the process. But in terms of Atomic Nancy herself, she's still very, very involved in the community. So she, I see her perform. She sings at Obons during the summer. And so she's very much still part of the community. So it wasn't, it was great to hear her kind of talk about back in the day. But she's very approachable, really cool, and was super generous with her time and her resources, as well as Zen, her daughter. But maybe Akira, if you want to talk about just the process.
Sure. Yeah, so Nancy's an open book, and for a documentary, that's gold, right? It's exactly the kind of main character that you want. So in terms of the process, Tad called me up about 6 or 7 years ago, I guess, to start shooting some interviews for this film. So I was initially just brought on as the DP, the shooter, and so I got to know Nancy, got to know Zen through that process, and like all the other minor characters. And over the course of time, we reached out to a couple different editors who took it on for very short periods of time, but then I'm not sure exactly why, but they ended up leaving the project and taking on other jobs. And so it was kind of floundering for a while. And of course, yeah, I think we've both been working on other things over the course of that 6 or 7 years. So by the time that Tad asked me to edit it, or I guess we decided that I should edit it, I don't know, we really just wanted to get it done. And so he asked me, and I took it on, and I feel like everything that I had done in those 6 or 7 years helped to inform the style and the approach to editing this particular piece. And also, I really got into it as I was editing, because I was able to tap into my 13, 14-year-old self, because back in the day I was really into punk music, and so it was great being able to bring that world to the world of Japanese American history.
Yeah, I mean that was great. I mean, I had no idea that there was that connection of the LA punk scene and that little cafe in J-Town. That was awesome. Speaking of the music, yeah, like can you tell us a little bit about like some of the bands that rolled through that cafe, and and some of the folks that you were following back then when you were growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Northern California, right, in a very small town called San Juan Bautista, and I when I was like 14 years old, I saw Decline of Western Civilization, which is all about the LA punk scene, like right around 1980. So it featured bands like X and the Germs, Black Flag, all these really great iconic LA punk bands. And so that was my view and vision of what the scene was like, right? And so not only were those bands going to the Atomic Cafe, but all these other really big name acts like David Bowie, Talking Heads, Go-Go's, Devo, all these bands that everybody has heard of. And so for me, it's just kind of mind-blowing to still think about it, that I guess they all had to eat, right, when they were on tour, so they went to the hottest spot in town, which happened to be in Little Tokyo.
Right. So that's amazing. So what is Atomic Nancy and Zen doing now?
Well, Zen is actually a really talented and successful photographer and DP and filmmaker. So she has a really great commercial career. And then Atomic Nancy is a substance abuse counselor. She's been a counselor for many years, as well, as staying involved culturally through different groups. She also forgot what church she's in the choir at, but I think it's a pretty big, well-known Black church in LA with a well-known choir. I don't know if you remember the name of the
AME?
It might, yeah.
AME Church, and I believe it's in South Central.
Nice. Yeah, and then you also mentioned that the cafe is no longer there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the main reasons, like most communities, right? It's on one hand, we want to organize as much as possible to resist against gentrification, but really, after a certain point, there's only so much you can do. And so I think what a lot of, Little Tokyo Service Center, a lot of organizations in Little Tokyo have been trying to do is at least hold these new tenants or hold these new folks accountable to retaining the history and the culture of the space. So, I think that's kind of why, even though the space is no longer there, we can make sure that people who are visiting for the first time understand, the ground that they stand on, as well as, just paying tribute to the folks and stories that have been there before us.
Right on. Well done on the project. Looks like we're down to our last question. What's next for this film, and would you like to plug any upcoming projects that we should be looking out for?
The film will be playing, it's just kind of starting our festival run, mainly through the Asian American festival circuit. So, big shouts out to CAAMFest for supporting the festival. Both Akira and I been kind of long time family members to CAAM and CAAMFest. And then, I think personally just trying to raise these kids, get us through 2020. As well as, I'm working on a film on my father, Robert Nakamura, called Third Act, which is CAAM funded. So again, big shouts out to CAAM.
That's right. Anything you'd like to plug, Akira?
Well, I also just want to give a big shout out to CAAM. You guys have always been really supportive of my work, our work, and the work that you guys do is super important to independent filmmakers like ourselves. As far as my work, we've been in lockdown for quite a while, so I've been really writing and developing ideas for what I'm going to do once it's safe to get out there and actually work at full force.
All right. Well, thank you, folks, so much for joining us. These were the filmmakers of Atomic Cafe, The Noisiest Corner in J-Town. Thank you, Tad. Thank you, Akira.
Thanks, Marky.
Thank you. Sadly, folks, we are out of time, but I want to thank all my guests for their time and for being part of CAAMFest Forward. Thank you all once again for joining us here at CAAMFest Forward. If you enjoyed what you saw and want to support CAAM and our future programs, please consider joining as a member or make a donation. And please click the link above the player for more information. Thank you all once again, and enjoy the rest of the festival. Take care, everyone.